On this episode of Poking Outdoors Guy, we're with Katie Corgiat as she gets into a once-in-a-lifetime catch.
Beast!
Poking Outdoors Guy is supported by Deeper Smart Sonar, Tony Maja Products, and Nico Baits. Hey everyone, welcome back. You know, getting out on vacation and going to a great destination where you get the chance to fish either some new water or a chance to fish for something you don't normally fish for is a great experience. Our field staffer Katie Corgiat had a chance on her recent vacation to Florida to get into something that is world class and probably something you'll never get a chance to get into again. Here's Katie to tell us all about it.
Thanks, George. Hey folks, Katie Corgiat here, and oh my gosh, do I have the most incredible, amazing adventure to share with you. Let's take a look. I have the pleasure of living in a beautiful state, Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. What really gets my heart going is saltwater. I had an opportunity to travel down to the Gulf Coast side of Florida. We planned this little fun vacation down in Florida, and I, of course, just needed his permission to start scheduling some fishing, and as soon as he said yes, I was on a roll. I have a friend down there, her name is Becky. She is a wonderful, tough fisherwoman who is just as passionate about fishing as I am, and she had a friend of hers. His name is Captain Christian Summer, and he is a specialist with all things that have to do with snook. So we went out there. It was Matt, Becky, myself, and Christian that first day, and we landed some of the biggest snook I have ever seen in my entire life. We all caught snook that were over 40 inches long, which is insane. I've been fishing in saltwater for about 17 years now, and I've never had a day like that on the water. Cast after cast, back-to-back monster fish all day that we're out there. The day of, I say that I get this gut feeling. I get this feeling deep in my gut that, you know what, this is going to be a really special day on the water. And I woke up the day that we went with Christian, and I had that feeling. And I said, oh shoot, you know, I just wasted that one, so now we're not going to catch a shark at all the second day.
What do you think,
but sure enough, we woke up the second day, and we're getting ready to leave, and I look at Matt, and I said, Matt, I'm getting the feeling, I have a feeling that this is going to be a very special day out on the water, so I hope you had your Wheaties. We decided to move to one of John's secret spots that he said has been producing some really nice fish, and he actually said that the day before they saw a large tiger shark swimming through. So I was all excited thinking, maybe I'm going to get a tiger shark today. Anything's possible, right? So we get to this spot, and we're fishing it for a little bit, and we start catching some small sharks. Matt lands his very first shark, which was just a thrill for him to see him bring in, it's like a 3 or 4 foot shark, but the adventure is always seeing the excitement on other people's faces as well. So there were a couple large rods at the end of the boat. One of them did take off, and Matt went to grab it, and unfortunately the shark let go. So of course we're giving Matt a hard time, and we said, okay, Katie, you get the next shot at this. Well, I'm reeling in one of my rods, just kind of jigging for smaller fish, and all of a sudden the rod that's in the holder next to me just starts screaming. So I pick it up, I get the strap around my waist, and I can tell literally within the first 30 seconds that this is a large shark. I've caught a decent sized shark before. I mean, the largest have been with Captain John. My largest was actually only a 6 foot hammerhead the last time we were out. I was more focused on catching that Goliath grouper. But this fish had such pull that I just knew right away that this was something a little bit bigger than the smaller sharks. It probably could have eaten the sharks that we caught all morning. So I just had this tremendous feeling, and once again, that gut feeling that I had in the morning, I was feeling that, and my adrenaline was just absolutely pumping. I knew that this was a fish of a lifetime within the first few minutes of fighting it, and I said, all right, I don't care how long this is going to be, but I think we're all going to be in for a ride of a lifetime. So we started chasing this fish down, and I cannot even explain how much drag, how much line this fish was peeling. It was just non-stop going. There were times where I couldn't even crank on the spinning gear at all. I couldn't even move it because this fish was just sheer power. But it wasn't doing, with some really large fish, some large sharks, they'll take what we call a run, where they'll just start screaming off the line. They're swimming as fast as they can away from the boat. this shark wasn't really doing that. It was kind of a slow, steady pull. Now, granted, I couldn't even move it, but a slow, steady pull. So I knew that it was probably a very large shark that was just casually cruising away, not trying to run away, but just saying, okay, I'm strong, I'm mighty, and I'm lazy to an extent. I'm not expending a lot of effort yet. But at one point, I was only probably about 10 minutes into fighting it, and the line went slack. I'm like, oh my gosh, we were all thinking that I lost the fish. And I started cranking in the line as fast as possible because I felt like the fish was still on. And sure enough, it had done a complete 180 and it was swimming right towards the boat. So I was able to crank up that line, thank goodness, not throw the hook off the shark. And then sure enough, it sees the boat and it just tears again. So we chased this fish down, this shark, probably about 6 times, where we had the boat in gear moving forward, getting close enough so I could get some of the line back on the spool of the reel, and then I'm pulling with all of the might that I possibly can up on this shark, and I can't budge it. I cannot move it. We haven't seen it at all. We haven't seen any fins at this point, and as you'll see here, there's a few different times where we're saying, okay, we're 20 minutes into the fight, we're 40 minutes into the fight, still going, we're an hour into the fight, never give up. We get to the point where, in total, I fought this fish for almost 2 hours. 2 hours, and this fish still had energy, okay? But I was determined throughout this entire battle, never give up. I don't care that I'm only 5'3" on a good day. I know that this is a fish of a lifetime, and I have to see it.
Yeah, that's the word.
Now, we all are starting to kind of guess on the boat what kind of shark this could be, because there are many different opportunities. Where we were fishing was a spot where a lot of sharks will actually come in to breed and to have their babies, and so we're thinking maybe this is a big mama. Maybe this is a shark that usually isn't around these parts that came in to have its children. So the thought came from Captain John that perhaps this is what was called a sawfish. Now, sawfish, for any of you that might not be aware, it's considered a shark, but it's actually technically a ray. They sit on the bottom of the sandy kind of bottoms, reef bottoms, and they're looking for schools of fish that they can swim into, because at the front of the shark, they have a weapon that's a saw, essentially. So they swing their heads back and forth, and they end up slicing through fish, and that's how they get their prey. So I'm thinking, okay, this thing was probably on the bottom, and sure enough, it might have sucked in the shark bait, and maybe we actually have a sawfish here. The other thing about a sawfish, it's basically like if you hook into one and you bring it in, it's basically like you've caught the unicorn of the sea, because unfortunately they're critically endangered. So at this point, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I am an angler who has had a bucket list of hundreds of different species of fish that I'd like to catch. And sawfish, for me, was one that I just wanted to see in my lifetime. According to the FWC, which is basically Florida's regulating fish and wildlife body, the estimates for certain species of sawfish are that there's only as little as 200 adults left. That's so sad, and that's just so crazy that there's only that few potentially left. And some of the ones that they've recently recorded for research have been, 6-foot, 8-foot sharks, which are still pretty big. And John said that he actually, with a few of his other clients, had recently boated a couple as well that were around that length, but nothing monstrous. So anyway, we're going through. I'm still fighting. I'm priding myself on being this tough little cookie. I box so that I have the stamina to fight fish, and I'm starting to feel it a little bit in my back, right? But I'm determined. I'm saying never give up. I'm gonna land this fish. I don't care what it takes. We're getting on top of this fish over and over again, like I said, at least 6 different times, where I had the ability to pull up on the line. And get this, we are only in 5 to 7 feet of water. So I'm pulling with all of my might, and I can't even see the shark. I'm not able to move it off of that shallow bottom. So what John decides to do is, let's get another rod in the water, and let's have Matt see if we can snag a part of the shark, if we could snag my original line, because we don't want to cause damage to the shark, but we want to get it up and cut this line so that we can let it free too. So what ends up happening is, on the second rod, the hook on that rod got tangled up in my line, and so that worked perfectly because now we had another leverage point where we could pull up on this shark. What I have to tell you too is by the time that we were nearing the end of this shark had pulled us about a mile away from where we started. It pulled a 21-foot boat with 4 people on it a mile away from where it was hooked. I can't even imagine, you know, the sheer strength of a fish like that, and that fish was still going strong. So what we ended up doing is Matt and I were pulling up with as much strength as we possibly can, go, 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 and all of a sudden, sure enough, we see the bill, we see the rostrum of this sawfish. We know that it is indeed a huge sawfish. And the way that we know that is we just see a glimpse of this fish, and then we see the bill come out of the water, and the bill of the fish was about 5 feet long. 5 feet long, just the bill, just the saw part of this fish, which according to everything you read about these guys, that equates to be about a quarter of the length of the entire fish. So we are absolutely freaking out. We cannot believe how large this shark is. And sure enough, Matt and I keep pulling on it, and we get it close enough to the boat to be able to see just how giant of a fish this is. I never in my entire life could have imagined it. We took some estimates because we don't want to damage the fish. Just eyeballing it, looking at it, we're saying, okay, it's at least 15 feet long, but as you can see from this footage, this fish is almost as long as the boat, and the boat was 21 feet long, so probably more realistically about an 18-foot shark. Can you imagine being in 5 feet of water and swimming next to something that's that majestic and that huge just right next to you? It's unreal. So of course this shark is getting a little aggravated. It's wanting to be let go. We think it's a big mama. We think she's tired. She's grumpy. She wants to get let go. She swings that bill, and that's the other thing is these fish, as beautiful and as non-aggressive really as they are towards humans, they are incredibly dangerous because that saw is loaded with some very sharp teeth, and they can swing it very, very quickly. So sure enough, this sawfish swings its bill, and it actually cut into the side of John's boat. It didn't damage the saw, it kept its teeth intact, but it went right through the gel coat of the boat.
God,
so John says he has a great souvenir from this too.
Look how big he is. Look.
So at this point we're freaking out. We can't believe it. We're trying to keep this fish up and you know the shallows so we can get some nice visuals of it. And the best part about this too is that this shark was hooked in the mouth. A lot of people get upset when you're unable to get the hook out of these sharks, but the good part about this story is that they encourage anglers when they are encountering a shark, especially one that's large and especially a sawfish, you don't want to try and pull that hook out if you can't reach it. What you want to do is you want to try and cut the line as close to the hook as you can, and when they're mouth hooked like that, the salt water is actually going to help to pull that hook out in due time. So it might take a week, it might take a little bit longer than a week, but knowing that it did not swallow that hook and that it was only in the corner of its mouth is a very positive for the fish as well. So we're able to snap the line off, and we're just in absolute shock of what happened to us. We were saying, is this real life? We're just in complete awe, and like I said, I in my entire life wanted to just see one sawfish. To be able to land a creature of that magnitude, of that beauty, and the other thing of it too is looking at this sawfish, there weren't any major scars on it, there weren't any injuries on it, it saw, had all of the teeth. It was really a perfect shark, and that just made me so happy knowing that there's still a few of those out there. So in all the years that I fished in saltwater, I never could have even imagined a day like this. Matt was in awe seeing something, realizing that there was something of that size that was in such shallow water too on the Gulf side of Florida. And of course he was a little upset at first that I wouldn't hand the rod over to him, but he was happy that I took it because he said he didn't want to be fighting it for that long. So you talk about a magical experience. Anything is possible when you're on the water with the right people, and even better to share an experience with people who share that same passion with you.
All I can say is that I've been fishing in saltwater for more than 15 years, and I've never had an experience quite like this trip. I've grown up in Minnesota. I love fishing freshwater. I'm absolutely addicted though to saltwater. But that sawfish is something that I've never seen. I had it on my bucket list, checked it off, something I'll remember for the rest of my life. But they always say that there's a bigger fish out there. So until next time, it's Katie Corgiat from Minnesota, tight lines, and thanks for fishing the Corgiat way.
Well, thanks, Katie. That was an absolutely amazing catch. Who knew? Who even thought there were still sawfish around, especially up around 18 feet? Absolutely amazing catch. Congratulations. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Pocono Outdoors Guy. Tight lines.